Hi. So the first thing you notice when you move from a smartphone back to an old phone is that that does absolutely nothing at all. And the second thing you notice is that you're actually holding it much closer to your eyes than you were in 2007, which was the very last moment you didn't have a phone that was a smartphone. And then your wife goes, "Shall I get you one of those little pouches you can go on your belt, like Grandad?" And I'm like, "No, thanks. Thanks a lot. No, I don't want that." But I used to sometimes get out my smartphone last year, and it would just make me dizzy. And I was like, whoa, goodness, how much we've all changed since 2007. The momentum is just dizzying. But I think there's another reason why I went back from a smartphone to a phone like this. And that's because of something that happened in 2010. It was the 6th of December 2010, and I was in a business meeting, a fairly high-powered business meeting, and bang, wow, the world suddenly feels like the back of a spoon, and I'm feeling terror, like I just didn't even know was possible. I left the meeting and then kind of just struggled through the rest of the day, and I was like, oh, it's going to get better when I get home. It's going to be fine. It's going to be absolutely fine when I get home. And I get home, and it's just not fine. It's just, wow. I didn't realize at the time, but I'd kind of changed forever. And things started going really badly at work. I remember at lunchtime, I used to just leave my desk as soon as I could. I would run to the British Museum, which wasn't very far away, and I had a sketch pad and a pencil, and I would just draw. I would just find something to draw, and I'm rubbish at drawing. But it was suddenly the most important thing I could possibly do in the world. And I started with these million-year-old axes that were actually used for 500,000 years before somebody thought about something better, before another technology came along. And then I did carved tusks, and then I did kind of vases. I just basically had to do something to calm myself down and something to civilize the kind of the broken bits in my head. When I got home, and I would have panic attacks in the middle of the night, I would reach for my phone, my smartphone, and I would click on link after link, and basically trying to find a story of like trying to orientate myself. What is going on? And one of the things I clicked on was an interview with this guy. His name is PC David Rathband. And on the 4th of July 2010, he was at a roundabout in Denton on the outskirts of Newcastle when there was a little tap on the window, and the tap of the window came from a shotgun. And the shotgun was being held by a man called Raoul Thomas Moat. Raoul Thomas Moat had left prison 2 days previously and was utterly convinced that his girlfriend was now seeing a policeman. And so consequently, he was hunting policemen. He shot twice, and the force of the blast pushed PC David Rathband into the footwell of his car. And whilst he was there, he was convinced that he was dead. You know, and he's kind of gasping for breath like a newborn lamb. And then suddenly, in his mind's eye, he sees a picture of his own son. And he reaches out, and in that moment, he gains the strength to press the emergency button in his police car. And so it lets the control room know exactly where he is, and he survives. However, most people don't remember his name, and they don't remember Raoul Moat's name. There is the name of one guy who they remember above all, somebody that turned up at the Siege of Rothbury completely unexpected. I'm just going to play you a little clip from the play so you can actually hear what happened.
Raoul Moat, I knew him years ago. He used to be a bouncer in Newcastle. I knew him a lot of years since I was a young kid. When I played for Newcastle, he was a gentleman.
Gaza, probably the best footballer of the 90s. Gaza, the man in recovery. Gaza, the national treasure, turned up holding some bread and some chicken and had a robe and some beer and a fishing rod. And he wanted to join and get through the police cordon to speak to Raoul Moat, who had a gun pointed at his own neck. Obviously, they didn't let him get through, and that's become a kind of infamous cultural moment. However, when I clicked on the link of David Rathband, I didn't know anything about that. Justin Sutcliffe, who took this picture, said that the most amazing thing, it was taken about a year after he was shot, said the most amazing thing about it was that he'd only had his eyes for about 3 days. They're made of plastic acrylic, medical grade, and he was just getting used to them. And they're like baby eyes. And those eyes that are brand new are in a face that is kind of just been on such a journey. And you can still see some of the pellets coming out in the forehead. And apparently each one of them felt like a bee sting on a daily basis. What I heard in the middle of the night was actually an interview on the radio.
I'm struggling to deal with being blind. I can deal with being shot. It happened. I can't change that. Yeah, I'm struggling.
It was a voice that was just so honest and open. By the time I get involved with the story, he's already a bit of a national celebrity. He has started a charity called the Blue Lamp Foundation to help people that have also been in the same position as him. He's become internet famous. He has a number of thousands of followers on Twitter and Facebook. In my life at that time, I'd found a psychotherapist. I tried CBT, didn't even touch the sides of what I was experiencing, but I found an attachment-based psychotherapist, and I would go twice a week. And he kept saying, it's all right, we're building a boat at sea. And I'm like, building a boat at sea? How do you build a boat at sea? And he goes, no, we're building a boat at sea. And after a long time, I actually believed that we were building a boat at sea. And I realized that the actual stuff with which you build a boat at sea is the honesty that I heard in that voice. So with my wife and my son, we kind of moved forward. Then, about 6 months later, I heard this on Twitter.
At David Rathband, 3,016 tweets, 319 following, 11,042 followers. Sad to announce, Mrs. R has called time on our marriage. Separation permanent.
Sad to announce, Mrs.
At Kath Rathband, 2,754 tweets, 605 following, 1,228 followers. With slight inaccuracy in the tweet by @PC David Rathband. He left us and refuses to come home. Hashtag the truth will out.
Whew. It was like watching two neighbours have a row. You don't really know where to put yourself. You know, he was leaving his wife, but on Twitter. But I suppose that's what celebrities do. Celebrities, in a way, taught us how to use social media. They make pronouncements. They leave each other on Twitter. But there is David doing the same thing, making the same mistakes that we were all making because social media was so very new. In my life, I started getting a little bit better. I started becoming a little bit more curious. I got my sense of humor back a bit and my curiosity back. And I started becoming really interested in the stories that we tell about ourselves and we tell other people online, on websites, the stories we tell in video games, in social media. And I decided that I wanted to write about our digital lives. But I was in no way ready to do it by myself. I thought, God, I still need to be surrounded by people. I need to collaborate. And so I chose to write for the stage. See, the stage to me seemed like a very ancient technology. In a bit the same way that we kind of outsource our questions to Google these days, the theatre is where we outsourced our very questions about what it is to be alive and what it is to live. And writers give you the vocabulary with which to discuss the times in which we live. So I wrote for the stage. Then, on the 29th of February 2012, it was announced through every tabloid in the land that PC David Rathband had taken his own life. Oh, wow. You know, my recovery and his recovery were kind of linked. He was linked to a lot of people, a lot of men going through life shocks at that moment in time. Wow. I decided to write a play about PC David Rathband, but it was quite selfish, really. I decided to write a play because if he could die, then I could die, and I didn't want to do what he did, but if I could write a play about it, maybe I could protect myself in some kind of way. And so I started with what the closest thing I had at hand, which were the tweets, which were the conversations between him and celebrities in public and private, things that should never be there, you know, but are still there online if you just care to search for them. And I put them all in this kind of metaphorical hanger, and I felt completely like one of those, you know, crash investigators. What happened here? And the more I looked, the more I saw that it wasn't just middle-aged men in crisis. It was you, it was me, it was all of us. All of us leave a kind of digital vapor trail behind us. For David, they lead to a black box. This play was a black box flight recorder, and that's what I was putting together. Do you know how long one of your stories will last in a social media timeline? Somebody give me a shout. Just say, how long do you think before it's gone, nobody clicks on it anymore? 32 seconds. It is a little bit longer than that. The average is 18 minutes before a story, a fragment has gone. That's fast. That's gone. On Facebook, if it likes what you've shared, it will try and expand that a little bit. Because from Facebook's point of view, what's important about your story is that it's likable and entertaining and fun, because they want everybody to log onto Facebook as much as physically possible, because that way they can make money. So your stories are curated not in the way that you think. You might only share it to about 4 or 5% of your followers, but you think it's going to everybody, but it's not. It's going on timelines to try and curate the most incredible, entertaining experience. Twitter is much more like a waterfall. It just kind of goes. But 18 minutes, wow, that's fast. That's momentum. And I think that the momentum is so fast that it's actually exposing kind of divides within our society. Divides between those people that like sharing the things that they do online, and those that think, why on earth would anybody be interested in what I share online? Those people that think of privacy as a kind of wealth and of connectivity as a kind of poverty. I think that the momentum, I think that there's been a kind of contraction of psychic space. So whereas before, you know, there was 6 degrees of separation. It was a theory in the 90s. We're all related to each other. So just everybody knows each other by 6 steps away. But now we've kind of gone to 6 centimetres of separation. 6 centimetres is the size of your screen of your phone. 6 centimetres is what separates the world's news feed on the one hand and your friend's feed on the other. I think the momentum is such that people come online not to share their lunch, but they come online to share their feelings, to regulate their emotions. Are you feeling this? I'm feeling this. Are you feeling this? You know, what do you do when people who are generally sending pictures, putting out pictures of their children's birthday party, then suddenly start putting on pictures of small children washed up on beaches? That's, I think, is what I found so dizzying. Why I had to change from being on a smartphone. I started pruning my social media connections last year. You know, I started voting off what I didn't like. You know, it's like in our politics. Oh my God, I don't know what you're saying. Please go away. I'm voting you off. We did it in Europe. Wanted to vote, you know, block but remain friends. That's what we do. In the olden days, we used to change channel if somebody was saying something we didn't like. But now, block but remain friends. I think that one of the reasons we feel anxious is because we're not quite sure what to do with the information that's being shared with us. What is our responsibility to the information that we're suddenly seeing in our timelines? You know, what happens when you click on it? Because one of the things about if you live in a world of 6 centimetres of separation, then, you know, a problem shared isn't a problem halved. It's a problem multiplied. What is our responsibility to what we see online? To ask that, just for a moment, and it's not very TEDx, forgive me, but just think, what is the worst thing that you have ever seen online? For me, I saw people jumping from the Twin Towers live. I once saw somebody drowning in a deep sea diver drowning in a place called the Blue Hole in Egypt from his perspective, from his own camera on himself. I saw PC David Rathband's final tweets. And I'd like to play those tweets for you. But I want to make the point that we're not at the edge of a screen. We're within a technology that is vast and ancient and old, a place where we outsource the very questions about what it is to be us. And I feel that my experience tells me that this technology helps us reach out and find out what it is to be human. And that's what we need to do now within the momentum that we all feel, is that the skill we need to learn is to remember to keep reaching out to what is human. My experience of sitting cross-legged at the British Museum, not knowing what the hell to do next, but somehow reaching out to something, to humanity, was the thing that helped me move forward. So I'm going to play PC David Rathband's final tweets to you now, but I'm going to join you because I think it's something that we should experience together. I think we've got every reason to be positive, every reason to be optimistic if we learn the skill of trying to find the human within the timeline.
At Danger Scouts, things will change between you and your family in time. You just have to wait a bit. Trust me. Enjoy your barbecue. Smiley face.
At Centimetres, David, please talk to someone close to you. You're feeling like you're at the bottom right now, but I know you can spring back. At Centimetres, at David Rathband, my heart goes out to you. My other half was disabled through the job. He too lost his wife who left him while in rehab. Now he's got me.
Siri dictate. February the 24th, 5:10 p.m. R.I.P. PC Rathband.
At Centimetres, at David Rathband, there's something I know, David. Your number's not up yet. You have many, many people who care for you. Granted, we can't replace the past.
At Loch Lomondon, hope the police will look after it, David Rathband. He's obviously on the edge. Reading his recent timeline is awful.
At Mummy Barrow. Anybody know at David Rathband personally? Worrying tweets, sir.
At Phil J. Baker. At David Rathband. You desperately need help to get through this, David. Don't try alone. There's people who can help. You can do it, my friend. Phil.
Siri dictate. February the 25th. I have behaved terribly towards my wife since I got shot, and she has done all that she can to support me.
At David Cox. No one knows how you feel being through what you have. It's bound to change a person. You have angry moments and do the wrong thing.
Siri dictate. Very emotional few days, but back on track. Now focusing on my trip back to the UK and the road ahead.
At Centimetres, at David Rathband, if you need some R&R, you can always come out here to the beach. Northern Mozambique is different. Beer's cold, sun's warm.
Siri dictate. Thank you for your positive comments. I'm trying my best. Sometimes I get it wrong. Sorry.